by the way, Face Off is far superior to Demolition Man.
You're an idiot.
No.
I don't even want to do this with you anymore.
Oh, God. I
don't even
Face
remotely
Off.
want to do this. But I love Face Off too.
is
It's not
fantastic.
superior to Demolition Man. Not even in the remotest context. Are you crazy? You're a crazy person.
The whole beginning part of the movie of having both John Travolta and Nicolas Cage establishing characters.
Oh, God.
And having them trade off and play each other playing the characters was fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing. I feel you've put me in a terrible situation now because I feel like I have to defend Demolition Man by opening with making it. You couldn't just say it was an awesome movie. You had to like immediately challenge Demolition Man on it, which is like, obnoxious and
don't
annoying.
Get me wrong. I enjoyed Demolition Man for what it was. I definitely liked it. That said, I feel like I was more pleasantly surprised with what I got into with Face Off.
It's hard not to get you wrong when you're being wrong. I don't know what to tell you on that. I will say I love Face Off. I love Face Off. Face Off defined like my interests for my teenage years. Like I was nothing but John Woo all the way. I watched all of his old Hong Kong action movies too after that. Like I went back, I watched The Killer, I watched the fucking Hard Boiled, which is, oh my god, everything that comes from Face Off that you liked came from Hard Boiled. He just brought it over and did it with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. I think that like, yeah, so it defined my interest for a long time. The acting is amazing, like over the top. It's not necessarily good acting. I want to make that very clear if this makes a bonus. It's not like you shouldn't give these guys like acting awards. Just they're so over the top and ridiculous the entire time while they're doing things that are just not even like they're like shooting 3 guys while diving through a window off a cliff into a car while shooting 2 other guys while a fire's going on. It's insane.
The grabbing of the harpoon at the end was kind of like, okay.
Here we go. We're gonna do this again. All right. I thought he was gonna like pull himself off, and they were gonna have more, like a kung fu fight. I'm like, we gotta stop, guys.
The one single gripe that I had, I did the whole suspension of disbelief thing.
Yeah, you've got to, because the whole face thing wouldn't work at all. They're not even the same size.
But they kind of did a little bit of hand waving, and they were like, "Oh, we'll sculpt your body and your chin and everything like that, and make it look like it's like okay, all right, fine." Theoretically, if we have the technology to transplant faces, I guess we would have this too.
if we're allowing that concession, I guess.
Exactly. But the one thing that got me was when he was in the prison, and dude shows up and is like, "Oh, hey, didn't see you there. By the way, I killed the doctor and everything, and all of the evidence proving who you are." Immediately, the very first, it's like straight up and down the blood type. Like that was stated to you. Like you can't just get a guard like, "Hey, look, I know some shit that normal people wouldn't know. Humor me for a second. Let's just do a blood draw." And everything could have been avoided.
Well, on top of that, he comes into the interrogation room. Like, that interrogation chamber isn't recorded at all? Like, like there's no cameras in there or anything?
Isn't there like a tiny quick scene when his brother's in there? He like flips a switch and it's like him turning the cameras off or something like that.
Oh, does he? It's been a while since I watched it.
Because that was one that I was getting ready to go.
Come on, guys. Come on. Come on now. Come on.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zechariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome. You, dear listener, have chosen, for whatever reason, to listen to another horrible gaming podcast. But I am not alone, and usually I'm never alone. With me is...
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
And we've got a fun show tonight because it seems logic has returned to the world. I don't know why Neil's being really cranky about this because this is all good things.
I don't know, man.
All good things.
I don't know, man.
We're gonna get into it. It's the Activision stuff. You knew we were going to talk about it the minute you checked your
various
news feeds.
of nudes.
No way we're not.
News, not nudes. Feeds of news.
I get the nude feeds sometimes. I got to subscribe to them nude feeds. All right.
That's just OnlyFans.
That's OnlyFans. So anyway, before we do that, we have to thank the people who have helped make this possible. Behind our ugly mugs, you're seeing a fancy custom graphic that is supplied by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. Of course, the theme song for this show and almost all the shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Siders. We thank him for that. We'll be right back with Fanteraction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Brings us to our first segment, probably our most important segment, that is Fanteraction. That's where we talk to you guys, the fans. We read out your comments and all the places we remember to see them and talk to you about them. So, we're going to start off with Mr. William Hohen. And then I'm going to belch. I'm sorry about that. But, hi! It'd be like that. Hi! Exclamation point. The Nick Cage movie is called Mom and Dad, so I have to find that. I have to find that and check it out. That's the one with the kids versus parents, the parents versus kids things that he was talking about last week.
Oh, okay.
I will find it and I will check it out, Will. Then he continues. DLC that are already made and ready to go before the game releases is scummy, really. It's like the old days where the data was already on the disc, which we talked about last week, aka no download required, but you had to pay to unlock it. It's infuriating to me. Gotta love gaming. Before we continue, I wanna talk about this for 1 second, okay? Because I've been thinking about the whole DLC conversation that we had last time. I want to say something very clear. DLC, at its core, is a really cool idea, and I'm okay with paying for more content after the game comes out to keep my gaming experience going, right? Like, that's the core concept of downloadable content, right? Is that you have this game that comes out, it's popular, so we have people work on it again, work on more stuff for it, which you have to pay for. I get that. It's a product that you're paying for. I get that. That we then put in the game. You pay for it. It extends the lifespan of a game you truly love. That at its core concept is awesome. It's something that I was very for DLC when I first heard about it. What is not cool. So like Street Fighter, even Street Fighter, if we're talking about like downloadable characters like months after it comes out, then okay, it's a popular game, you're adding to it, we're paying for it, fine. We're not talking about that though. We're talking about fucking people taking chunks of the game, the finished product, and hacking it off so that they could sell it to you right after the first one releases for a boatload more money. That kind of shit just makes me irate. It makes me so pissed. It's so much different than what the whole idea of DLC was supposed to be in the first place, which was extending the lifespan of your favorite game, you know? Like, you look at Skyrim, and look, Bethesda's no hero company. I'm not saying they are. But, like, you look at Skyrim, the first DLC came out, what, like a year and a half after it was released? And it was
somewhere along those lines.
And it extended the play of your game, right? It gave you something new to do. And that's how those DLCs went moving forward. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem paying for that. I don't have a problem buying into that. I have a problem when this was a chunk of the game that was already made, that's ready to go, and you specifically was like, cut that off so that we could charge them extra money. That's where That's the insidious part of DLC. And it just goes back to the games as service. And I don't want to get into a full rant halfway through my boy's comment, but it goes back to that insidious thing where you're taking a beautiful concept. Like the same with the games as service stuff. You're taking this beautiful this beautiful concept and you're just turning it into the most predatory evil shit to the point where what does your brain think when you hear the letters DLC said back to back to back? You think it's evil shit immediately. It's not inherently evil if it's done right, you know? Like, it's just so frustrating That like you have some cool core concepts that are just being absolutely destroyed by evil predatory crap, you know?
I almost think that this may be like a little tinfoil hatty sort of
Ooh.
situation,
Ooh.
but I
Very
almost
rarely
think,
doth Neil don the tinfoil hat.
yeah. So knowing what I know of Street Fighter V, how they rolled everything out, it was very live service. They even straight up said they were treating it as a live service. In no realm does a game go live service for a mainline entry and then go back.
Right.
I think that they already know full well they're going to treat 6 as a live service.
They just don't
But
want to
they
say
are
it.
exactly. They don't want to say it because they've got a roadmap right out of the gate of characters, upcoming DLC, stuff like that, which is the same sort of stuff. Like guaranteed what's going to happen when this game launches. Not only are we going to find out, more information about like the characters and everything, we're probably going to find out that you can unlock the characters with in-game currency. We're going to find out about upcoming events and like special fights because that's something that they've already shown as a possibility in the game to where you have like special constraints for certain fights with characters versus other characters. You're going to do that and win extra fight money, which is what they had in Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
Win extra fight money to use to unlock X, Y, and Z. Like it's full on live service. They're just not saying live service.
And that's a problem with me too, because live service is a service. You're not selling it like a service game. You're selling it like a narrative game while keeping all the live service elements in, and that's having your cake and eating it too. That's double dipping, and that's the problem that everybody's having. But let's finish this dude's comment. We're only halfway through comment number 1 at this point. He then continues to say, on the Monster Hunter Now thing. That's the AR Monster Hunter game we talked about last week. They tried to make it work with Harry Potter, which we did touch on, which is a huge franchise compared to Monster Hunter. I think this thing is doomed to fail, honestly, but we'll see. Hey, we talked about it last week. Like, the other thing is, like, it just AR rides that fine line where, like, you want it to be in depth, but not too in depth. So where's the level where, like, you're not just standing there playing a video game in the street, but it's more interesting than just walking with your phone out. Since you like it, more fun French facts. Neil requested it, so he's bringing it in. More fun French facts. What you call bras, for us, parentheses, spelled the same way, actually means your arms.
Interesting.
He does not answer this, so I'm going to double down. What the fuck do you call bras then?
That's true.
I want to know. Is it like booby holders? Like tit cups? Like what do you call bras? I want to know what the official French name for bras is.
Something for an undergarment. I would assume.
Yeah. You don't like tit cups? I kind of like tit cups. I need a pair of tit cups myself.
Same.
He then says, thanks for the show. Cheers. Parentheses, stuff and things. I'm sorry, hashtag stuff and things. Thank you, Will. It's always a joy to hear from you. Backdraft then sounded in. First off, woo! Woo back at you, Backdraft. Second, believe it or not, this is the second cell phone-based Monster Hunter game. Monster Hunter Explorer, and I was not aware of this. Monster Hunter Explorer was a huge while it was out and had recently, last year I think, shut down permanently. Capcom America actually just got the rights to some of the unique monsters and subspecies not long ago. I didn't realize that. I thought Capcom always made Monster Hunter, but the same with the Monster Hunter Frontier rights. So hopefully this one does well and adds some new shit to the series too. Again, I think the biggest problems facing Monster Hunter now is the like walk around in a field thing. You know what I mean? Like it's that AR line where like you want it to be an in-depth game so that you're not just walking around and looking at stuff on your phone, but if it's too in-depth, you're just standing in the street playing a video game. So like you got to find that line. I don't know if they have. The other thing I want to point out, that I hated about Pokemon Go is that all the stuff is in the cities. Like,
Yeah.
I want to take a walk in a forest with it. Why? Like, that's where you'd find Pokemon in the fucking game. You wouldn't find it like walking down Fairchild in the middle of the day. You know, you find it in the forest, and you don't get any of that in the forest. And I think that's kind of a cell tower reception sort of issue. But like,
Yeah.
I don't like that. I can't go for like a weird nature hike and like have some Monster Hunter fights. Then I'd be into this. I'd be into this if I could go to like not even a park, just like a really like more rural area. Like we got a big back open area that me and Stella walk sometimes with like some small woods up to the train tracks. If I could walk back there and do Monster Hunter, all right, I'm in. But like you never can. You got to walk through, like you got to go to Chipotle to get the fucking Pikachus or whatever. I would really like it if they did that a little bit more.
You know what would be cool too is if they
What?
implemented something to where like, yeah, sure, the whole thing's about walking around and everything, but like what if you encounter a monster that's like considered fast? Like what if you encounter it and like to catch it or take it down or whatever you're going to do for whatever game, you have to keep a certain pace. So like let's say you have to do a brisk jog or something like that. I feel like that'd be rough for some of us.
Yeah, my fat cells and knees are screaming at you right now.
But it would, I feel like, truly accomplish like the goal of those games is to like fucking get you outside and get you moving around.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just, yeah, it's like what's the level there? I don't know. We'll see. Then Jason chimes in. They're holding 4 characters hostage. # free the hostages. Then Backdraft posts this, and I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to on this one, but he just says, find it, look at it, buy it, love it. I have no fucking idea what he's referring to. We must have been talking about something that makes sense to, but I don't remember. My brain is not good enough to remember. So, sorry, Backdraft. Jason then chimes in, dolls 100% are watching everything you do. Yeah. Yeah, Melissa agrees with you. Funny addition to the Melissa story. The whole Melissa eyes thing comes from like she had this wallpaper when she was a kid that her parents put up, and it just had like woodland animals all over it, and she was like horrified by it. The parents never knew, but like so it was up on her room for most of her childhood, but she always thought they were watching her. So that's where her like weird fear of like stuffed animals and stuff comes from.
I mean, that makes sense.
It does. It does. It's creepy. It's creepy as heck. I wonder if I have that wallpaper still. I do. It's right here. Let me show it to you.
The wallpaper that you're talking about?
Yeah, so her dad, which...
Why would you have this wallpaper?
Okay. Her dad gave me a chunk of it, okay, when they were moving out. And this was after the whole thing, and he told me use it to prank her. But I can't bring myself to prank her this way. Like, I can't.
God.
It's terrible. And I have other issues with her dad. But, yeah, so this is the wallpaper right here. I'm showing it. Neil, I'll have to watch back later.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to watch back to see this.
To see it. And it's just like cute woodland animals playing a piano and doing math. But, yeah, he gave me a chunk of this wallpaper to, like, play a prank on her. And I just can't bring myself to do it. So I just keep it down here. But yeah, I have this wallpaper down here. Like, yeah, I don't know. But so I have it, but I can't do that to her. That'd be terrible. Like, that'd be like, I don't know, like prank Zach by hanging him off the edge of a skyscraper. You know, like that's not a prank to me. So, Jason then continues, movie critics don't know anything about enjoying movies. I tend to agree with you, sir. Tend to agree.
That's a thing, man. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe this is just like an old man grumpy rant sort of situation.
That's
but
what
like,
we do here.
Like, I know anytime there's like reviews of like Marvel movies and everything coming out, like, I get it. Like, at this point, Marvel's kind of like really run all that stuff into the ground, and there's a lot of people who've fallen off from it.
Yeah.
But even from like the very get-go, critics were like, "Oh, this is nothing but garbage." Bah! And it's like, yeah, just garbage movies that have like Endgame grossed the most of any movie ever in existence. Yeah, just garbage, sure.
Well, and what's weird is sometimes I agree with them on the just garbage for that. The thing is, though, is like, what's garbage to you and what's garbage to them? It's one of the things that, like,
fair, yeah.
It's why I do my, like, reviews the way I do without a score. Because, like, at the end of the day, you can't judge taste and you can't judge quality for somebody else when it comes to art or entertainment. You know what I mean? Like, just like you love to play Sonic 06 because it's a train wreck. I mean,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's a good example.
It is. So it's kind of like, what is the bar for anything? I love this movie called Six String Samurai. It's just the weirdest fucking thing you'll ever watch in your entire life. Like, I'm talking cavemen using gumballs to attack people. Like, it's insane. And I love it. I'll watch it any day. Any day. I'm pretty sure any critic who watched it would be like, this is terrible. So, like, it's kind of like, what is... You know, I yelled at a dude once, and I don't like to yell, but he got my goat about something. But, like, I hate it, and I told him why I yelled later when we were both much calmer. And I basically straight up said, I was like, the problem with what you said, and what he had said to me was, like, I listened to the musical tracks on WWE 2K22. They're very bland, alternative tracks that you would hear on the radio, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how all sports games are. They put, like, they stuff them with a bunch of those that just play, you know? Yeah. And I was like, I'll sing them. I like them. And he basically straight up said, they're terrible. It's terrible music. And I had gotten mad at him. And then later, like, he had pointed out that I got mad at him. I was like, look, I shouldn't have yelled at you for that. But let me explain why. I don't like it when people speak in absolutes like that. I don't like it because it's not terrible. Somebody finds enjoyment in this. That's why they're hit songs. That's why they're in there. You don't like it, and that's completely fair. I have no problems with that. I enjoy it. That doesn't make me stupid. You know what I mean? Like, because it's art. Yeah. It's not like, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, art isn't like, it's so subjective to the eye of the beholder and movie critics, that's the problem with being a critic. You're immediately taking something that you have no real place judging for somebody else, and that's your job. Judge it for other people. So, like, I don't know. Okay. That was a weird little rant, but let's continue. Asylum66 chimed in. I could use a good win. I want a game I think about while at work, please. He got a quick reply from Backdraft. Those don't exist in this dimension. I think this goes... I'm glad we just did the Eye of the Beholder thing, because I'm going to say right now, there's a couple of games right now that I think about while I'm doing other things, that I'm working. You know, like, I think that nothing has hit for you, and that is very unfortunate. But, like, Redfall, I can't wait to play Redfall. Mm-hmm. I am super excited about Redfall. And then games that I'm actually playing and still thinking about, as much as they're an evil company and they did some evil shit, 2K23's GM mode, I think about that all day. I think about the stories in my head. I think about, like, what I'm going to book the next day, like, for my private game, for my OMGM stealth plug with Grandpa Gamer. Like, I think about that all the time. So, like, I don't know. I think it's one of those where it's like, it hasn't hit for you. And I'm very much hoping something hits for you, because I've been in those spots too. I've had those years where I'm like, nothing's doing it for me. You know what I mean? So I think it's tough, because I've definitely been there where I'm like, there are no games that interest me right now. I had that, I think, last year a couple of times. But right now, I'm knee deep in things that are very interesting to me. So I don't know. I think it's tricky.
It's definitely. I've had that a lot lately. The last one that did that for me was when I got the notification that God of War Ragnarok was delivered at home when I was at work. I had to close that evening, if I remember correctly. And I remember even messaging my wife. And I was like, put it in the PlayStation now. It's like, when I get home, it's ready to go.
Right.
Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom's going to be one of those for me.
Hurts
Even
me, but
some,
yes.
even to some degree, like Redfall, like it's
Yeah.
all like. I mean, I've mentioned to you, I can't wait until we have this talk about the end of the year, because this year is fucking slamming it for me. But like,
Yeah,
that's
again-
the thing, is everybody has their own thing.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Like, all games aren't for all people. Welcome to the podcast.
And that's the trick, right? That's the trick. That's the thing, is you go online, and I think that's one of the things that I wish that gamers weren't so militant about, was like,
Yeah.
whether something sucked or was good, because at the end of the day, I say it in my reviews at the beginning of every review, video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, because it's not even hitting you on one level. When you watch a movie, you are intaking the content they are giving you as is. There's nothing else to it. Whereas with games, you are playing it. So there are two completely separate, different ways that the information, that the art is being fed to you. So it's just so subjective on such a level that, like, it's hard to say, oh, there's just been no good games. Well, that's not true. At
There's
the same
lots of good games.
At the same time, it's like you can't say there's been only bangers. You know, you
Exactly. Like,
It's
there's
tricky.
there's some misfires, and then, sometimes too, like, this conversation is only ever meant for, like, the AAA stuff.
Yeah.
We have tons of indies that come out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one myself, I know I'm waiting for it to go on sale, just because I would be a fool if I pay full price for it right now, because I wouldn't be able to really play it for a while. Pizza Tower, like,
Yeah.
that's one that's kind of exploded onto the scene.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Wario Land 4, so you better believe that's my jam.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And there's thousands
Yeah.
of games coming out on Steam every single day. So
and there's
I mean,
a lot of indie ones I'm excited about. Lakeburg Legacies. There's a couple of others. Like, it's just, there are ones that I'm thinking about right now. I wish Asylum 66 had one that he could be thinking about right now. Like, I wish that for him, because it's nice when you've got that,
Yeah.
But I think again, it's one of those very subjective things, because right now I have a lot of stuff that I'm just constantly thinking about, which sucks, because I have so many projects. I can't fucking do any of the things. I can think about them and then just kind of be like, well, maybe I'll play them tomorrow. But yeah. So, and then finally, Jason said there are gay art styles that Thing would fit into. I am not sure what he is referring to. That we mentioned. What Thing? Did we have like an art conversation about something? And I don't know what a specifically gay art style is. I'm sure there are, but I didn't know that there was.
I know we had touched on we touched a little bit on Street Fighter 6's
Oh, maybe
art
that's
style. Yeah, it's very color splashy.
Color splashy.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. So that's it for fan interaction. Thank you guys for commenting as usual. You put them in the bottom. We will read them out and talk about them and respond to them. We are about to do our talking point, and I'm actually excited for it, to talk about this for the first time, because Logic, there is at least a small chunk of the earth that has some fucking intelligence about something. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're jumping into Activision Microsoft again.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our talking point. Finally, some industry out there, some organization out there has seen the Microsoft Activision merger with some form of Logic. So the CMA, the Commercial Management Administration, they are the British FTC, basically, has blocked the Activision Microsoft merger. They released a 400-page document on the whys. I'm about to go into some of that. A lot of people thought that the CMA was not going to do anything because the CMA had released a statement that they were no longer concerned about Call of Duty, which I am so happy about, because I have said repeatedly the problem is not Call of Duty. And guess what? They agree with me. The problem isn't Call of Duty. The problem is the stranglehold that this would put on the industry. They cited many things in their 400-page document as to why they are blocking it. First and foremost, they would have almost an entire monopoly on cloud gaming, they said. Basically, they would be able to railroad everything into that. They also cited that Game Pass would go up in price, and that would not be fair to the consumers. Holy shit. How nice is it to have a government entity thinking about us for a change?
Wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Not over here.
Not over here. Wouldn't know that. They said that the Call of Duty... The one thing they also said is that the idea, the concessions that Microsoft was making with all these 10-year deals that they were chucking out the window for Call of Duty were farcical because, and this was one of my favorite things in that report, in the report, they specifically say a 10-year deal for Switch for Call of Duty is ridiculous because Switch cannot even technologically handle a Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I did a slow clap on my fucking back porch while reading this while smoking a pipe. Like, this was one of the greatest moments of my life. As a person, I'm just gonna go on a little rant, bear with me, Neil. As a person who has felt like he is in a alternate bizarro world where all logic and sensibility about a thing has just gone out of a window. And over the last nearly 4 years that I've been doing this, I've just been watching people just go crazier and get stupider as these companies get eviler and eviler. It has been so nice and so relieving to not just have a body share my concerns, but actually reflect the actual concerns, because Call of Duty doesn't matter. It is all the things that this thing would bring around. It is the price hike that they're going to do to us. It's the fact that they will be able to railroad every company. It's the fact that they specifically said in their 400-page document that there is no viable competitor for Game Pass. And this would make Game Pass absolutely 100% the dominant force in cloud-based and gaming and streaming. This 400-page document echoed everything I have been saying every time we end up in this fucking conversation about Activision and Microsoft. And that's why I'm actually happy to talk about this for once, because finally some fucking logic and sensibility has come to this. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to talk, Neil, because I've been talking for a really long time and I know that. But the one thing I do want to say that we don't have information on, and this is actually bothering me, and I also want to send a special shame out to IGN for this, is that no one is reporting on what exactly this means for the merger itself. And by what it means for the merger itself, it's, okay, this is an internationally traded company. Does this mean they cannot go forward unless they win an appeal? Does this mean they block Game Pass and Microsoft products in Britain? Like, what does this mean for the merger? No one is talking about that because IGN is so concerned. They're just thinking about their wallets. All their fucking stories are about how Microsoft can get around this. And it's very, very, very annoying and frustrating because I want to know exactly what this does. On that note, there is two things that it will do. It will create a precedent for FTC to potentially go, like, follow through and have some backbone. Same with the EU, and I don't know what their commission is called, but both of them are kind of pressured into following suit with the CMA, which is great, number one. Number two, there was a number two, and I've just gotten so excited. My train has hit the mountain. So I'm just going to let Neil talk for a little bit. I'm sure I'll remember it in the ranting, but this is so relieving that at least some government regulatory body sees the danger of this, the real danger, and it's not Call of Duty.
So I think where we're currently at with everything, the reason why we don't super know like what it means as a whole is because that part's still going to be hashed out, because Microsoft straight up and down has said they're going to appeal the decision. They're going to fight tooth and nail. They've come out and said that like this isn't over. There's no way this is over. They said that it was like the decision was made based off of, I think the quote was, a misinterpretation of facts or something like that, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Now, there's another part of this, too. I don't know if you saw this part of it, but Bobby Kotick has really stuck his dick into this, too.
I have not seen the Bobby Kotick stuff. I was reading mostly just, like, the report itself and, like, what that meant. And I want to come back to the appeals thing, because that was my number 2. You reminded me of what it is.
First and foremost, apparently, let me go ahead and pull this up here, because it was one of my odds, and I figure we should just talk about this, or at least bring it up right now. And that is that Bobby Kotick is set to make a shitload of money one way or another. $3 billion in a breakup fee. So if it goes through, he gets his golden parachute, or if the deal falls through, he still gets paid for his troubles.
Did he say something about this? You said he stuck his dick out.
He has. Yes, he has.
Because I knew about this. I was going to talk about this in a little bit. But
the next part of that is that apparently he claims, I forget the individual's name, but it's somebody who's a part of the FTC, had gone to that other group over in the UK.
The CMA.
Them. Had gone over and spoken to them, what was it, a week or two before this came out? So like a week or two ago.
Okay.
He's claiming that the FTC is meddling in it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's also... Yeah,
How would
exactly.
it be fucking meddling?
I think the quote was like some, snide Bobby Kotick shit. Like he was talking about and is like, we're on the up and up here. We're playing by the rules, but apparently the FTC isn't, because pretty sure you're not allowed to send anybody over to interfere in mergers, but that's okay, because we're confident that it's all going to be sorted out and everything anyway. Shut the fuck up, my dude.
Well, and let me just say this. In what world is it against any rule for the United States FTC to talk to the CMA, their British counterpart, about an international merger that they're both working on? That's fucking ridiculous that they can talk to each other. Of course they're talking to each other, Bobby Kotick, you dumb shit. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah, and this whole, just to kind of circle back to what you were going to mention here, the fact that they're going to appeal, like Phil Spencer even too, like send an internal memo about how, we absolutely are going to fight this tooth and nail, because we know that the facts are on our side, and this, that, and the other, trying to hand wave it all away. I don't know, man. Like this just seems like, for me at least, I'm getting the vibe of this is something that I would normally be hype about, but like I think I'm just so cynical at this point. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, to where like all of a sudden, like a month or so from now, like, appeal process goes through, Microsoft wins, and like it all goes through without a whimper. This is that, like,
I don't disagree with that. Okay, I want to make it very clear. I'm not necessarily saying that this merger isn't going to go through. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just, my joy comes from the fact that there is now a 400-page document from a government-sponsored regulatory body that basically mimics everything we've been saying on this podcast for the last 2 months. Whether the merger gets killed or not killed, god damn it, it's just nice to see some fucking logic from a government for a change, period.
That's true.
Like, it's just so nice to see sanity prevail, even if it's just for today. Even if the insanity still bowls it over with its money, it's nice to just see today's sanity prevail. On the appellate thing, let's talk about the $3 billion first, because I have some things to say about that. So and we've talked about this before. I brought this up on a previous mention of this, and that is there's $69 billion deal right now where Microsoft is buying Activision for $69 billion. However, there's a clause in that contract that if at any point in time Microsoft goes, we don't want to do this deal anymore, they have to pay $3 billion to Activision as kind of like a cancellation fee, basically. I'm going to say this. $3 billion is an astronomical amount of money. I'm not going to say it isn't. It's more money than I'm ever going to see in 6 of my lifetimes. I think that, like, that being said, $3 billion is nothing compared to $69 billion. That $3 billion does not go directly to Bobby Kotick. It goes to Activision, which is already struggling. I think that I am hoping, I am praying, okay, that Microsoft does a cost analysis and goes, it's not worth it. Pays them their $3 billion and lets Kotick deal with all the bullshit he's got to deal with that Microsoft has bailed him out of in the first place. I would love that. And personally, the Phil Spencer saber rattling thing, I think he'd do that even if he was going to back out of the deal. Because you have to do that right now while you're doing the cost analysis. You can't be quiet, because if you be quiet, then shit gets, like, everybody gets real suspicious of you. And then all of a sudden things go downhill fast. You lose stock, you lose all sorts of things. So if you were going to go through with the deal, you know what I mean? If there's a chance you're going through with the deal, you have to saber rattle. You have to be like, we're going to fight this tooth and nail, on the beaches. We'll throw pepper in the eyes, all the Winston Churchill shit. But even if in the back of your head you're like, hey, we need to think about this now, bro, you still have to get on the mic and say that, because if you decide to go through with it, that's going to do the least amount of damage to you. You can't just be quiet and go, we're going to think about stuff, because if you do that, then all the people like Microsoft, who already, from what we've heard rumors-wise, is already nervous about some of these acquisitions you've made without performance. Those guys go, hey, you haven't said anything. We need to back out of this. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. You lose investors, you lose shareholders, you lose stuff like that. You got to saber rattle right off the bat. What the fuck was I lost? Oh, and the appeals thing. So, on the subject of the appeals process in Britain is much different than here. And in actuality, the appeals process for the CMA is way stricter and overturns a lot less than the United States, like an FTC appeal would. So in Britain, it's just like one judge, and all they can decide is whether the CMA has acted inappropriately or illegally. That doesn't mean that they won't uphold the merger. Like, you see what I'm saying? Or uphold the stopping of the merger. So, so that, I'm not saying it won't go through, guys. I'm not saying that at all. Money talks. It always has. But their process for appeals in Britain is much more difficult than it is here.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, too, like, I really wish that the FTC would make a statement on stuff too, because like this would be the prime time for them to, put something out there as to what way they're leaning or anything like that, just because of the nature of this. Because like you said, all that we're really focusing on right now, or at least the main news of everything is, oh no, Xbox no get Activision game.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, that's what's pissing me off.
That's the whole big deal of it right now. And, Bethesda was big enough whenever they got that. We thought that was massive. This is colossal. And we've been fighting about this now for it's over a year at this point. And now we have our first bit of movement as to, what's going to happen if it's actually going to go through. I keep reading articles too about like, oh, well, nobody knows why they blocked the deal, but we have 400 pages of why
good
the deal
reasons.
was blocked.
Good fucking reasons.
Good reasons, yeah. You know, and the deal with the streaming, honestly, the streaming thing is huge. Straight up and down. Like that there, I feel like is one thing like that I even didn't even really think about in regards to everything. I was thinking strictly games, not just services. You know, plus we're already expecting a Game Pass price hike anyways. Phil
Yep.
Spencer told us told us as that exact thing before the holidays. Said after the holidays it's when it's going to go up. Now, whether or not he was alluding to the fact that this was going to happen as a result of everything remains to be seen. But
Well, I want to say this too. Everybody out there who likes the Game Pass price at what it is, you should go over there and shake the CMA's hand, because if Phil Spencer raises the price of Games Pass now, oh, he's in a world of fucking hurt, because that was one of the biggest reasons they blocked this in the first place. So if you moderately raise the Game Pass price after that was one of the biggest reasons they blocked you, well, that just gives them ammunition. He can't. He's literally boxed into leaving Games Pass the same way for now. I think that, again, this is a huge thing, and it's Game Pass, and that's what we've been talking about here. I swear to God, the CMA just listened to our podcast and was like, type that shit up. But like, Game Pass, name a service out there that rivals Game Pass.
I mean, the only one that I think of that's actually close-ish
Steam?
would be Nintendo Online. Well,
Nintendo Online, it's all older games. It doesn't really do anything for you. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the thing is like, what's it called? Sony's attempt is just that, attempt.
A joke.
And not a great one,
An
yeah.
absolute joke. I would say Steam is the closest, but Steam is not a subscription service.
Right.
Steam is a internet storefront, so it doesn't really count in that space. Game Pass is the only thing that's Game Pass, really, when you really think about it. Getting new day and date AAA, AA, single A games right when they release. Nobody's got that. For a subscription fee, nobody's got that. You add this into that, it makes it so that like you have to have Game Pass to play games. And that's where Xbox was going. That's where they've been going. That's what I've been saying. They're just trying to strengthen their Game Pass. They're making that the value. That was the short-sightedness when we were talking about how Microsoft was supposedly mad that there wasn't any first-party games. Phil Spencer isn't buying these things for first-party new games. Phil Spencer's buying this for the library because now he owns the library of those games. You know what I mean? Those companies. And then he sticks them on Game Pass, and people go, oh, $9.99, I could play every Bethesda game ever played, or $12.99 or whatever. Like, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
And there's another part of this, too, that we haven't touched on yet. Shame on NVIDIA for coming out and defending Microsoft.
Ridiculous.
I think the reason that was done was because they have a streaming service, too. But, yeah, and then Microsoft trying to cut more 10-year deals. Like, it's just like they're staring at them just like, What can we do? More deals? Is that gonna do it? There's more deals. Tell you what, we'll sign a deal right now to put we'll put it on this fucking smartphones now for 10 years. What else do we got? Let's find a way to get it on Game Boy Advance.
We're
10
gonna
years.
send it to you by mail. And that's how you'll play it in text.
We'll do the Netflix game thing. We'll do that. Yeah, that worked out well. 10 years.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And like the problem is, and this is what I love about this whole report, is that they've basically said the problem isn't your games, man. The problem is where you're going to have those games and how you're going to use those games. That's the problem. You will 100% put these in Game Pass. You will 100% make them exclusive to Game Pass eventually. And you will use that to raise the price on the consumers. And you will use that to pigeonhole other companies and other supporters into Game Pass. Like, that's the whole thing, is getting leverage over the entire industry. And there is a problem in gaming. And I'm not a huge government fan, but there is no regulation in gaming. There's no laws. There's no nothing. There's no rules for them to play play by. It is the Wild West, and that is why we only have 2 hours to play before we can't even get a refund. That's why we barely ever get those. That's why they can do so much predatory shit to us in DLC and everything. And it's something I was talking to Melissa about. The laws that we go by are always 10 years behind when it comes to games and digital stuff. Yeah. They're never current because digital is moving too fast for lawmakers to keep up with them. And again, not a huge fan of government. I've said that many times. That being said, you have to have some rules. You have to have something, or it's the Wild West. And if it's the Wild West, the person with the most money wins. And Microsoft has the most money. And they have been on a train to win for some time. And what bothers me even more is they've been on this train to win, and they don't even have any good games. They haven't even released any first-party games that give them the right to win. They're just literally buying the entire sport. The thing that also bothers me is they make themselves look like the underdog in that way. And you want my tinfoil hat fucking on right now? I think it's one of the reasons we don't have any first-party games that are quality. Because they probably push them out, or they slow them down, or they say you can't release that, or just do a remake, or something like that, because they want to give us just what they need to give us to still look like they're the underdogs. Like, we all need to root for them in the Rocky, even though they're fucking Ivan Dragoff, and they have been since the beginning. Like, Sony is so out of their depth with this that, like, it's ridiculous to think that Sony is the evil empire in this. It's just ridiculous.
You kind of touched on something here too, because this was something I considered putting on my odds and ends, but we'll just talk about it briefly here now because it's relatable.
Hit it.
The Microsoft's console sales were down 30% over last year, and that there is being explained away as, well, everybody who got an Xbox, has definitely gotten one already. So, of course, sales numbers are going to go down because stock is back and everybody got one. Well, that's fair. That's a fair argument if you ignore the fact that if you only have 3 people out of 10 buying your console as opposed to, like, a PlayStation 5 when availability got better, 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 people, buying your console. If you ignore that fact, then sure, yeah, that makes sense. But, that's the thing is you can't help but wonder the fact that there's been no quality first-party stuff coming out. I mean, Redfall seeks to eliminate that. We will see, but at the same time, I don't think that's alone is going to be enough to drag Microsoft out of it, which kind of alludes to what you were talking about. They're making that pivot to a service-based company, not necessarily a hardware manufacturer. And we've known that this is a thing on the horizon for a while, but now combining Game Pass with Project xCloud and game streaming, absolutely, they're primed and ready to go. I said this a long time ago.
Yes.
A long time ago.
We've both been saying this for some time.
Why would I buy an Xbox, even though I did, of course, buy an Xbox like a fool? Why would I buy an Xbox when my current console / my PC / my phone with a good internet connection can play these games anyways? There's no reason to. No. And Microsoft has straight up made that be their statement. Their what they put out there is, you don't need a console because everything that you've got's on Game Pass and Project xCloud. And now somebody has finally listened to the words that are being said and said, hold on a second, they've been talking about this for a while. Maybe let's not think about the games necessarily, but what they're building up to eventually.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing.
Exactly. They're not about consoles. They're not a console company right now. They have consoles out there so that they can continue to be perceived in that space. And personally, I'm of the mind to kind of side with Xbox a little bit on the whole sales are down, because even during the most shortage of shorts, you still had a better chance of getting a Series S than you did of a PlayStation 5. They were much better at their supply. I mean, it was still terrible. It was hard to get, but like it was a lot easier. And when the supplies started to come back, it was a lot easier to get Series X's and Series S's than there was PlayStation 5s. So I think that you had a lot more people buying those in the beginning because you could get them. Whereas now, PlayStation is finally getting over their supply chain issues, so they're selling a little bit more. Xbox isn't. I kind of see the logic in that. That being said, I still feel like they're putting themselves in this position where they want to be the underdog, even though they have the most spending power of anybody in the game. Like, they have the most money and they have the most power, even though they want you to think, oh, we're fighting from below. They're not. They're doing this by presenting the games, by making it all about the games, right? And that's what they've been doing for a while. They're making it all about the game. And look at what Sony's got. They've got God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Zero Dawn and all these exquisite things. We can't get anything going. We just can't. So we've got to buy Call of Duty, and we don't even have a Call of Duty on the horizon, and we don't have any exquisite. We just got Hi-Fi Rush, which is a little indie darling that's like a AA. Yay! That's bullshit, though. Like, they're purchasing these companies that are the guys who supply games to other companies. That's what they're doing right now. They're buying it all up under the guise of the underdog, when they're not. They have all the money and all the power right now. And if they get Activision, then they have all the power. All the power. There are no other third-party companies other than maybe Ubisoft. But let's face it, Ubisoft is like on the edge of a plank over shark-filled waters, trying not to fall. Like, there's no real third-party developers out there after Activision Blizzard that are like big-name AAAs. They have them all at that point. There's just indie stuff and the people that Sony and Nintendo own individually. Mm-hmm. That's the problem, is they have literally taken away all the free agency and moved it to Microsoft with their huge bags of money, while not producing anything for us so that we can think they can't get their shit together. Well, this is their shit. Their shit is not making new games. Their shit is controlling the flow of games to you, the consumer. That's what they're doing. That's what they're making this about. And that's the problem. That's the whole antitrust laws. That's the it's not free. You're not trying to make a product that's better than the other guy's product. You're trying to buy all the products so that the other guy doesn't have any. That's not fair. That's not fair market trading. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think at the end, this was expected to close sometime this summer. I really don't think that this is gonna end until at least, I'd say, before the holiday season, if not the beginning of next year. At the rate that we're going,
I agree, unless Microsoft bails, which is a real chance, people. I want to say that again. There is a real chance, as much saber rattling as there is right now, that in 4 or 5 months, $3 billion to get out from under all this shit looks really good. I will say the reason they don't want to do that, though, is because Phil Spencer has no intention of not buying more companies. And the minute he backs out of this, the minute he admits defeat and says, okay, I can't buy that, he can't go purchase Ubisoft then. Right. He can't go purchase the Embracer Group. He can't go purchase the other companies he wants to purchase because he's going to be in the same position again and he's going to have to walk away. The minute he swerves in that game of chicken, he's lost. And that's why he's rattling. That's why we're fighting it. But, again, he's not the end-all be-all. Microsoft money is. And if Microsoft wants to say, look, we're done with this, pay him the $1 billion and walk away, then he'll have to pay him the $1 billion and walk away, and then we're in a whole new ball game for games. Because then Microsoft is going to have to start coming to the table with actual quality products instead of just buying up everybody else's shit. They're actually going to have to make things you want to play, and that is a different thing. Plus, maybe, just maybe, if miracles do come true, Virginia, Bobby Kotick will actually pay for at least some of the shit he's done because his company will suddenly be struggling. So I think that, like, this is a really interesting thing. And I do want to say to everybody, I understand Neil's cynicism. I am a cynic myself. We have seen that on this show many times. But as much as I'm a cynic, I can also be an optimist. And for the very least, for this day, April 30th, well, we're recording at April 30th, so just go with that. April 30th at 9:18 p.m., for a change, Sanity is ruling in a land of video games industry. And that is not something I have seen since the olden times. Like,
and tomorrow is a new day.
It is. It is, and it can bring the same terrible shit, and we could be back here next week talking about how fucking awful it is that they bought their way out of everything. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if it is. For a change, somebody saw the craziness going on and pointed it out, other than us, other than two idiots on the internet who get 24 views an episode. You know what I mean? And that is really fucking nice to me. I'm done. Is there anything else you want to add to it?
No, I'm good until the next wave of stupid shit comes through.
I swear we've talked about this so much this year. It's just never ending.
Very much usually about like a day or two beforehand, Zach will send me a message on Facebook. Just confirming our recording time and...
Not usually. Every
usually confirming our recording time. And this time I asked him what we were going to talk about on the off chance that he was going to mention anything other than this. So, I mean, this is my cyberpunk right here.
I understand, but cyberpunk never got logical. Cyberpunk just got crazier and stupider as it went on. There was never anybody...
a DLC soon.
There was never anybody who was like... There was no government regulatory body that was like, hey, this is wrong. There was nobody who said that.
It's going to be.
We thought
for a minute.
But hope was quickly dashed. I think that, like, with this, at least for a change, somebody actually did something, and that is why I was excited to talk about it, because that never happens to us. It never happens. We never rant about a thing and it gets better. And I'm not saying this gets better all the way, but today it got slightly better. The needle moved in the positive direction, which it never fucking does. It only moves negative all the time, like a slow trudge into oblivion. But for a change, it actually moved the other way, and I am here for that. I want to talk about that. I love that. That makes me very excited for the future. Gives me a little bit of hope, a sliver.
Just a little.
Just a little, but still. All right, let's go to odds and ends.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, that brings us to odds and ends. In this segment, we take smaller stories that don't necessarily deserve a talking point. We just want to tell you about them, riff about them, whatever. I only have one. Neil has Trace, 3. So I am going to do mine and just get it the fuck out of the way. And it's kind of a bummer one. And if this steals yours, I'm sorry, man. I think you might have had this. I don't know. But Jedi Last Survivor is just coming out.
No, I didn't have this one, but I heard about this.
Been nailed for performance issues on Steam. It only has a 31% on Steam right now. A lot of reviewers are like, this is a great game, but I can't get it to run above 30 frames per second at 1440p. Just an absolute train wreck. So the weird streak of like the PC side of games just sucking ass continues. Obviously we had problems with this with games like Wild Hearts. We also had some issues with another one that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's just been very strange on that. Usually PC games work better than the console games, but lately they've just been train wrecks. But Jedi Survivor is getting some poor stuff on that. I just want to point out, this goes back to the terrible flawed review system of IGN, because of course, did they review it on PC? No, they did not, because they were not sent a PC copy, because the people at Respawn and EA thought, that copy's broken, Let's send them one that works. So they reviewed it on PlayStation 5, and it, of course, got a 9 out of 10. Why wouldn't it? This is the kind of irresponsible stuff that comes from pre-release review copies, because you end up not getting a full scope of what the game is and what it has provided, and you people as reviewers, IGN, I'm talking directly to you, you as reviewers are doing people a disservice because you are reviewing it in one place, and anybody scrolling through and just looking at that verdict, well, that's what you end up getting. It's bullshit.
Well, it's not just performance, too. There's also a save wiping bug.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's... I
did not mention that, but yes, I heard.
When you go to load the game up, if you're hit by it, it actually says something about sequence breaking.
Mm-hmm.
It says something along the lines of... it seems that you like skipped through something, or you're playing the game out of order, and it said, "Oh, this can cause problems and stuff like that. Do you want to reload from the most recent save, or like try and do something else, or start over or something?" And it still doesn't even load. Yeah, it doesn't even try to do it. Yeah, I've seen there's been a lot of complaints about this. We definitely did get the usual at this point picture that's posted to Twitter from the developers, and we are so sorry. We know you expect better, and this, that, and the other.
Do we? Do we expect better anymore? Like at this point, I can't wait to see what's wrong with Redfall. I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait to see what's wrong.
Well, speaking of that, so apparently the cases for the game have leaked ahead of time.
Really?
The images, the images of the cases have leaked ahead of time.
Okay.
To be fair, GameStop gets the stuff like a week or two in advance, so this is normal. However, on the case, the game advertises that the game runs at 60 FPS. Now, if you are remembering from about 2-3 weeks ago, the devs have straight up confirmed that it will not run at 60 frames per second at launch.
That sets you up for a suit there, champs.
Yeah, so that's not going to be great. So not super cool. Now, of course, there was a post on Reddit about this, that apparently they're going to be provided stickers to put on the back of the game cases. I don't think... that would just make it even worse. I don't know if that's legit or not. But yeah, straight up and down saying that the game runs at 60 and it doesn't run at 60, you're just setting yourself up, man.
Well, and this is one of those problems where most likely, I mean, the cases, even the recording into DVD, they're done by a different company than... They're done by a third-party company, and the specs of those are ordered long before the game is actually finished, which puts them in a shitty position because they've announced that you're going to be locked at 30 frames for the first, couple of months until they get the quality mode up and running, which... For me personally, I do appreciate that they were upfront about it before they even released it. So, you had a chance to cancel that pre-order if you wanted to. You had a chance to walk away from it if you wanted to. So, I appreciate, hey, man, we don't want to delay, but we've run into this problem. We can't get this fixed by release date. Here's the information ahead of time, That being said, though, you've got it on the case. That really opens you up for a lot of potential litigation because you're advertising a thing you cannot possibly deliver.
I have confirmed will not be available either.
Well, and putting that shit on Twitter, putting an email blast about that on Twitter is not the same because there are plenty of people out there who don't use Twitter, don't use Reddit. Those people you have falsely advertised to because your box says 60 frames per second. You know what I mean? So you put yourself in a position for that, even though you announced it ahead of time. So I don't know what they do with this. That's a rough. Maybe they're just crossing their fingers.
Yeah. I don't know. That remains to be seen. We will see here. Because Redfall comes out on the 2nd? was it?
Tuesday.
So when you are listening to this, Redfall will be out,
Yes.
and we will already
I'm
know.
playing
I'm
it
sure
already.
the review embargo.
I'm playing
sure
it
the
right
review
now,
em-
I'm sure.
I'm sure that review embargo is going to be lifted tomorrow / Monday. So I will be very curious to see how
Yeah.
many out of 5 ... out of 10 IGN gives it.
Well, and that's the question. What did they review it on? What were they sent to review it? That's the real thing. And that's the problem with the system on reviews. With anybody getting pre-release anything, because you're not even getting the day one patch. Like, you're not reviewing the game. You're reviewing an idea of the game that the developer specifically wants you to see. That's what you're reviewing. And that's the problem with it. You know, you look at a movie, right? A movie reviewer. We're talking about the critics again. At least movie critics get to see the movie. They get to see the finished product of the movie before they talk about it. They're going to see that movie in any way that anybody else sees it, period.
Right.
With this, there's so many places that it can be wrong. So many things that can be wrong. Hell, on the Borderlands 3 review, they didn't even get to do the split screen co-op, and they released a review. How is that cool? How is that okay? That's not okay. You can't give it a scored review if you don't see everything.
Exactly.
So that's absolute bullshit. I do hope Redfall is good. I am hoping for it because I'm very excited about it. Plus, Arcane's a good company that has produced quality games so far. I don't want this to be the game that breaks their streak.
Yeah.
Shall I say it that way? I mean, the Dishonored's, they're not for me, but they're quality games. They were both quality games. I don't want this to be the game that makes them a shitty company. So I'm kind of fingers crossed that it's at least decent, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So moving on to the next one,
Sure.
Sega of America is gonna vote to unionize.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Filed for a union vote with the National Labor Relations Board.
Interesting.
So we'll see what happens there. They will then be joining the ranks of Raven Studios as unionized.
Very few studios.
Very
actually
few.
unionized.
So yeah, we will see how that turns out.
You know, it's tough for me to speak on this because I've worked in industries with old hat unions, you know, and I tend to I tend to not like them politically. That being said, as a skeptic, as somebody who's not a huge fan of unions, you need a check and balance in games. We have this problem in the gaming industry where there's no checks and balances for anything. Like I said before, it's the Wild West. They can get away with and do just about fucking anything because there are no laws that stop them. There is no unions to stop them. There is no body, no regulatory body that really stops them. So I think this is a good thing. I think this is one place where I'm like, yeah, let's bring on the unions because we need some checks and balances in this area. We just do. Yeah, something. We need that so that we can have some way of stemming the overwhelming corruption and unmitigated spending that comes from these game companies. You know, sorry to be on a rant here for a second, but it just came out today that all AAA games cost more than $1 billion to make. There's something like that. That a report came out that the average amount of spending for AAA games is $1 billion. Why? Why does it need to be that? Do we need to be spending $1 billion to make a video game? We don't. And the reason that they're doing that is there's nobody saying why. Nobody's saying don't do this. You know. And it leads to terrible situations of bugs and unhappy consumers that can't get their money back because there's no way to stop that. You know,
right.
I feel like there's just so much there's no check or balance whatsoever in gaming. We need something. So sure, bring on the unions.
So the last one here is a little bit interesting. There's a TV channel in Argentina that has broadcast a pirated version of Super Mario Brothers movie. Somehow, some way. And then actually right before we even got on to record, there was actually a Twitter page that had a link to the entire movie as well. So I'm sure Nintendo's not too happy about that. But it doesn't really super matter anyways, because we've officially gotten past the $1 billion mark.
Yeah, it's made so much money.
Yeah, so I'm sure they care, but not as much. I mean, what's his name?
Nintendo goes out of its way to care about shit that it shouldn't care about.
That's actually what I was about to say. What's his name? I think it's Doug Bowser. There's a Doug Bowser and a Gary Bowser. I can't remember which one it is.
Doug Bowser's the Nintendo guy.
The Nintendo hacker guy who just got out of prison for running ROM sites, basically.
No, that's Gary Bowser. Sorry.
Gary
Doug
Bowser.
Bowser's the guy who runs Nintendo of America.
Two Bowsers, both associated with Nintendo, is already confusing.
It's too much. It's too many Bowsers.
He just got released from prison, and he's got to pay back like millions and millions of dollars to Nintendo. Like they went after his whole life.
Yep.
And he will now pay until he dies.
This is the company that sends cease and desist orders to people building Mario games in other games for nonprofit. Like they don't fuck around with that shit. So I'm kind of surprised that it. I mean, I'll be surprised if it's not down and everybody who has ever had anything to do with it isn't burned alive.
Unless they are considering it more of an Illumination thing than a Nintendo thing.
I guess. I don't think Nintendo considers anything a non-Nintendo thing. Like if Nintendo is on it, I think Nintendo thinks Nintendo owns it.
But yeah, outside of that, I do believe we're donezo.
Oh, is that the last one?
Yeah, that was it.
All right, let's get done. We'll get done a little bit early. I mean, heavy on content. Heavy on content is what we had today. All right, we'll be right back with the shameless self-promotion, guys.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, would you like to plug anything specific?
Yeah, so last week we did a You Suck at Parking, and of course it went about as well as you expect it to go. Turns out we do in fact suck at parking a lot of the time.
We do.
No, a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. But definitely
and
was
Kayla, I love you, but you really suck at parking. She was so bad last night. Or not last night, but last time we played.
She was expecting to practice. She was expected to get some practice.
Everybody needs to watch her when I spawn in, because her car is just going batshit the entire time. And so many times I was next to her, it was hysterical. Hysterical. She created good content. That's what matters.
Yes. But outside of that, we are going to be getting ready here at some point. Redfall is going to be out on the 2nd, and we're going to do a Let's Play playthrough thing, all three of us.
Yes.
It will be very interesting to see how that turns out.
Lasso 3,
doing
baby.
a long form sort of thing, whatever the hell we're going to call it. I feel like the name is going to come about in the episode, so...
I have no idea. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get into it. I have an excuse now to definitely play this game, so it won't get lost in the shuffle of the endless barrage of projects that... my brain can't stop feeding me. But, yeah, I am so fucking excited to do that Let's Play. We don't have a name for it yet. I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to come up during it. But it will be me, Neil, and Kayla. We're going to be playing through it together. It'll be weekly episodes, probably a half hour, 40 minutes. Basically Halo Infinite Road, but with Redfall and the addition of Kayla, which is going to make things Real fucking fun. So definitely watch out for that. It will definitely be coming out in May. That's all I could say right now. For other projects, we have so fucking many of them, it is nearly impossible to mention them all. I do want to give a special shout out to Astral Drive. The second episode will be coming out we'll be streaming it this Wednesday. It is our live TTRPG play. You guys really like that. We got almost 40 views on it. It is a system that I am creating with Mr. Mark Bell for our gaming company, which isn't out yet, but it's coming, so it's a lot of fun. Philbilly 330 is involved, Wizard's Respite's involved, and then Aether Dios from the old Star Trek show is involved. It's a lot of fun. Check that out. It's bi-weekly on Wednesdays, this Wednesday. If you're watching this, it's tonight. I want to give one more shout out to a TTRPG thing that is getting over. If you want to see it played, myself and a buddy of mine named Josh, we stream it Mondays at 1 p.m. till 3 p.m. I know that's a weird time, guys. It's just how the schedule works out. You can watch it in the past. If you watch it live though and you comment, we'll add your shit to the game as we go. Which brings me to this one. Go right now to drivethragames.com. You can purchase a copy of Getting Over, which is a solo wrestling promoter simulation journaling game. You can play it solo or with other people. You take up the role of a wrestling promoter who has to hire wrestlers, book matches. You get to come up with your own wrestling league. You get to slowly raise them up, get a TV deal, expand them. It is a lot of fun. It is only $4. I can't say that enough. $4 on Drive-Thru Games. So please, go check it out. Purchase a copy. I would really love it. And if you are on the fence about it, you can see me and Josh play it Mondays at 1 p.m. or just look for Getting Over on the channel. We have a playlist. You can check that out, and you can see all of our previous episodes and see if it's a game that you'd be interested in. Other than that, we've got all the normal things. The Let's Plays, we're still doing OMGM with Grandpa Gamer. We got Prelude to Divorce. We're probably going to take a week off there. We did a stream with Melissa. Please go check that out. We did Monster Prom. It was amazing. It's always amazing when we do Monster Prom, me and Melissa. We also just finished up Oregon Trail, the first playthrough. We're going to have some new stuff coming. And then I'm streaming Sifu on Amateur Hour and Grounded at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. That's a lot of talking I just did. But check all that out. Words. We have a lot more stuff. We're doing a lot of TTRPG stuff. We've got a TTRPG podcast with Wizard's Respite. We just did a special report on the whole Pinkertons thing, which brought out a lot of crazies in the comments, but got us a lot of views, so I don't know. But yeah, check all of that out. We're really happy. We've got a ton of stuff on the channel. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you can contact me on Facebook at @OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at @OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link's in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as long as you keep watching and listening, we will keep making it. See you guys next time. I am so ready for sleep.
I am so ready for sleep.
The idea of having this done before 10 is just exciting me so much right now.
Oh my god. Yeah, we went out last night because we had a bridal shower for the people we're going to see them get married in South Carolina in June. Mm-hmm. So I did cookies, ludicrous amount of cookies. There was like 10 dozen cookies when I was all said and done. That was my whole day Friday. And then Saturday was the actual event. We went, set everything up, and then actually helped tear down too. And then afterwards they were like, oh, you guys want to come over? We're just going to hang out. And the dogs had been locked up in their crates all day because we were gone all day. I was like, you know what? Fine. Let's go over there and let them run around. We are now used to going to bed at about 30-ish on a regular basis. We didn't leave there until 12:15. I was going to die.
Oh, no.
And then not only did I had to drive home because Kayla had quite a few adult beverages. So I had to drive home. And it was my turn to take Fen out in the middle of the night. And that little shit snack got up 4 times in the middle of the night crying. So I barely limped through the day today. So I am ready.
I'm totally down with that. I'm totally down
Ready.
with that. I had 2 kids' birthday parties yesterday and today that I had to take Stella to.
I was gonna say, yeah, I saw it. Phil's.
Yeah, a lot of his first birthday, which was really nice. I had no real problem with today's. Yesterday, she went to a friend from school's birthday party, which was fucking insane, man. Absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah?
First of all, they gave out the invitations to the kids at school to just bring home. Can I tell you what was on this invitation? A unicorn dapping, the kid's name, the time and date, and an address. That was it. There was no phone number. There was no email address. There's no way to get a hold of them to say you're not coming or you are coming. There's nothing. It didn't even say that this was a park we were going to. It just said an address. So right there, we're in for a thing. I figure out it's a park. Stella just got her immobilizer off, right? So
Yeah.
She can finally walk around with her immobilizer. Arm's still broken. Will still be broken until roughly around the 15th of May. But she can still use it. She's getting her mobility back. Melissa like, should we put the immobilizer on before she goes to the party? And I'm like, nah, it's just a park. She'll be fine. We get there. These motherfuckers are blowing up a bounce house.
Oh no!
I know. And there's no way I'm keeping a 7-year-old out of the bounce house when all of the kids are in the bounce house. So I'm just sitting there on the side, like burning a hole in my stomach. Just like every so often, like hold your arm to your stomach. Hold your arm to your stomach. Don't use it to brace yourself. Like somebody comes over and goes, what? Like because I'm being an obvious helicopter parent. They come over and they're like, is something wrong? And I explained, I was like, she had a broken arm. She just got the immobilizer off. And they just start profusely apologizing to me, which is already ridiculous because it's your kid's birthday party. Why would you not have a bounce house for one potential guest that may or may not have showed up?
Right.
Like, it's the most ridiculous. But then I'm like, look, I gotta worry about this on twofold because number one-fold, I don't want her to break her arm and be back in that immobilizer. But number two-fold, I already have to go home and tell my wife, who I told it would be fine if she didn't wear the immobilizer, that there was a fucking bounce house there. But it gets even worse if something happens to that kid. I might as well just be looking for apartments at that point. Looking for apartments listing because Stella's going to be having 2 Christmases. There's no way that I'm surviving that. It's terrible.
God.
Yeah, but yeah, it was... They also had it outside at a pavilion at a park. I don't know if you remember what the weather was like Saturday. It was fucking
not great.
It was like 52 at best and raining the whole day. Oh, such a day.